Hey everyone, ready to dive into some seriously tricky Spanish?
I'm ready.
We're talking those verbs and phrases that trip up even fluent speakers.
Right. Things like to give or to ask, that slippery word else.
Ooh, and don't forget about would.
The bane of every Spanish learner's existence.
But that's why we're here. We're taking a deep dive into a recent podcast episode.
All about intermediate Spanish grammar.
To help you finally master these tricky concepts.
And sound way more natural when you're speaking Spanish.
So let's jump right in. Let's talk about to give.
Seems simple, right?
You'd think so, but it's sneakier than it looks.
Yeah, I have a feeling those pronouns can get messy.
Exactly. In English, you can say, give me the book or give it to me. It doesn't really matter.
True, but in Spanish.
In Spanish, things get a little more expressive, let's say.
So how does that work?
It all comes down to how those pronouns attach to the verb.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
All right. Give me the book translates directly to dame libro.
Okay, straightforward enough, but add that extra it, like give it to me, and it shifts.
How so?
It becomes dámelo. That lo is doing some heavy lifting there.
Wow. So it's not just a direct translation. It's about understanding this whole other system of pronoun placement.
Precisely. And it's not just with to give. This pattern pops up with other verbs too.
Like what?
Think, show, sell, bring, send, you name it.
So we're talking about any verb where you're using me, you, him, her, them.
You got it. Those pronouns are your building blocks for these tricky verbs.
Okay, let me try. Send me the book would be mándame el libro, right?
Perfecto.
And send it to me becomes mándamelo.
You're a natural.
Okay, but here's where I always trip up. Body parts.
Ah, yes. This is a big one.
In English, we can say touch your nose or touch the nose.
It doesn't really matter. But in Spanish,
In Spanish, you need to be way more specific.
you're telling me. In Spanish, you always, always, always need a possessive pronoun with body parts.
Okay, so it's all about emphasizing that ownership, even if it seems obvious.
Exactly. So it's not touch the nose, it's tócate la nariz. Touch your nose.
It's like Spanish is possessive, even about noses.
Right. These subtle differences are what make Spanish, Spanish.
And mastering them is what helps you sound like a natural.
100%. It's about thinking like a Spanish speaker, not just translating word for word.
And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive.
To uncover those hidden grammar gremlins that mess us all up.
All right, you ready to tackle another one?
Bring it on.
Okay, let's unravel the mysteries of to ask.
Oh, to ask. Another one that seems so simple.
But I have a feeling it's about to get complicated.
It can be. To ask can actually take many different forms.
Really?
It all depends on what you're asking for and who you're asking.
So context is key here.
Always. Are you asking someone directly or requesting something on someone else's behalf?
Okay, I see where this is going. Give us some examples. How would we use to ask correctly in different situations?
Sure. Let's say you want to ask someone for something directly, like ask me for it. That would be pídemelo. See how that it is already built in.
I'm very sneaky.
But if you're asking for a specific object, like ask me for the pen, it changes.
How so?
Then it becomes pídeme el bolígrafo.
So the sentence structure really shifts depending on what you're asking for.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting when you're asking someone to do something.
Ooh, yeah, like ask Maria to open the door.
Yes, that's a whole other grammatical structure.
And of course, we'll have to say that for another episode.
You know it.
All right, we'll cover that tricky to situation soon. But for now, let's move on to another tricky phrase. Supposed to?
Yes. Supposed to. Packed with nuance.
We've all been there. I was supposed to call my mother back.
Right. It implies obligation, expectation, and sometimes a little bit of guilt.
Exactly. So how do we capture all of that in Spanish?
Well, se supone que is a good starting point for supposed to.
Okay.
It doesn't quite capture the full depth of the meaning.
So it's more than just a word-for-word translation.
Exactly. It's about understanding that underlying implication.
Like an unspoken agreement.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm curious. Can you give us an example of how we'd use supposed to convey that deeper meaning?
Absolutely. Imagine someone was supposed to be somewhere and they're running late.
Okay, I've been that someone.
You could say, se suponía que tenías que estar esperando donde estás.
Which basically means,
You were supposed to be waiting. Where are you?
Okay, that definitely has a different tone than just saying, were you waiting?
Right. There's that sense of, hey, we had a plan. What happened?
Exactly.
And the beauty of supposed to is that it can be used in so many ways.
Like how?
Well, you can use it to talk about the past, present, and future. I was supposed to. I'm supposed to. I will be supposed to. It's incredibly versatile.
So adaptable. Our research also mentioned how it's similar to have to.
Yes. There's definitely that overlap in terms of obligation.
It's like that feeling of something you should do even if you don't want to.
Exactly. Like, Carlos, you're not supposed to play with that.
Carlos, no debes de jugar con eso.
Perfecto.
Okay, so we've got this multifaceted phrase, supposed to, packed with meaning and adaptable to different situations.
This is pure gold for sounding more natural in Spanish conversation.
Absolutely. And that's what we're all about here.
Uncovering those subtle nuances that really elevate your Spanish.
And to make you sound more confident when you speak.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've tackled to give.
And to ask.
We've even decoded supposed to.
But are you ready for a real brain teaser?
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about would.
Oh, would. The word that just seems to disappear in Spanish.
Exactly. It doesn't have a direct translation, which makes it super tricky for learners.
Right. Like, how do you even explain would to someone?
It's like it magically changes depending on the sentence.
I remember learning about the present conditional.
Yes.
But a little refresher would be amazing.
Of course. So the basic structure is if plus simple past plus would plus base verb.
Okay, I think I'm starting to remember this.
For example, if I had time, I would travel the world.
It's all about those what if situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dreams, possibilities, if only moments.
Exactly. And you're right. Would doesn't have a direct translation in that sentence.
It's more about the relationship between the two parts of the sentence.
It's like would is this invisible bridge connecting the if and the then.
I like that. An invisible bridge.
And remember how we talked about supposed to being used in different tenses?
Yes.
Well, the conditional can do that too.
Right.
You're exactly right. It's not just if I had time, I would.
It's also if I had had time, I would have.
Yes.
Yes.
You can use it to talk about those hypothetical situations in the past, present, or future.
My brain is doing backflips, but it's a good kind of backflip.
I know what you mean.
Okay. So we've demystified would.
Sort of.
But while we're talking about confusing grammar bits,
Yeah.
can we address the whole were versus was debate?
Oh, the age-old debate.
In those if clauses,
Yeah.
is it if I were you or if I was you?
It's a tricky one.
Which one is the grammatically correct one? Technically, were is the way to go in those if clauses.
Okay.
But let's be real. We've all heard native speakers say was in conversation.
All the time.
Yeah,
Like, if I was a rich man, it just sounds more natural sometimes.
exactly. But knowing the rule allows you to choose when to bend it.
Ooh, I like that. Having that secret knowledge.
Right.
We know the official rule, but we can also be flexible in casual conversation.
That's the beauty of language.
It's always changing and evolving.
Exactly.
So we've tackled would. We've waded into the were versus was debate. What's next on our grammar adventure?
Well, since we're on a roll with confusing words, how about we tackle else?
Else, it seems so simple.
Right. But it's one of those words.
I can really trip you up in Spanish.
Absolutely. Especially because it's so versatile.
Our notes mentioned the common mistake that people make,
Oh, yeah.
confusing else with more.
Ah, yes. The classic else versus more dilemma.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
Like wanting something more when I really meant something else.
Happens to the best of us. So how do we avoid that in Spanish?
Yeah. What's the trick?
Well, remember, it's not algo más for something else.
Right.
You want otra cosa to really hit that different thing, meaning.
Otra cosa. Got it.
And then when you're asking if there's more of something,
Right.
that's when you can use algo más, anything else.
So again, it comes down to context. Else is kind of a chameleon,
Exactly. It changes meaning depending on the words around it.
and the pronouns it's hanging out with, like someone else, somebody else, no one else.
All those tricky variations.
Each one with its own unique translation in Spanish.
It's enough to make your head spin. But speaking of head spinning,
Oh no.
Yeah.
What do we have now?
what about or else?
Ooh, or else. But that's the beauty of these deep dives.
Right. We're not just memorizing rules
We're uncovering those hidden patterns in the language.
and understanding the why behind the words.
So you can walk away feeling more confident.
They're ready to tackle any tricky Spanish phrase that comes your way.
Exactly. So to all our amazing listeners out there, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep those questions coming. Until next time, hasta luego.
Thank you for joining us today on English Learning Podcast. I want to congratulate you for taking the time to improve your English. Every step counts, so keep moving forward and don't stop. If you enjoyed this content and want to learn more, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so we can keep creating videos like this. Let us know in the comments what level of English you're at and what topics you'd like us to cover in the next episode. Also, check out the links in the description for additional resources to help you keep advancing. See you in the next video. And remember, English Learning Podcast is here to help you reach your English goals. Keep learning.